Namaskar. Greetings from India. Well, before I move ahead with my topic, I would first like to take this opportunity to congratulate and heartily appreciate Mr. Zakir Hussain Sheikh, founder CEO of McMarvin. As I happened to listen to his introduction, it was quite more informative. But I have always wanted to share this on this platform before I begin my talk. It's not a quite long time that I happened to meet this gentleman, but whenever I heard from him, I found him quite unusual and unlike from his contemporary, as you have rightly said, Sonu, quite unlike from his contemporary technical entrepreneurs who are quite focused on their career success and materialistic accomplishments, isn't it? He is actually a true gentleman with spirit and sense. And thank you, Zakir, for bringing me in on your platform because I know this is one of the important social evils that the entire world is suffering with. And you have started up this child chapter and making people like us also to be a part of it is actually helping us to serve better. So, as I said that I would like to begin my talk with the help of a presentation. So, can I share the presentation?
Yes, you.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. As I said, we know that this prevention talks is one such interesting initiative. Apart from action plans, there is a need for people to be articulative on speaking about this child abuse. See, there are n number of things that can be done for eradicating a social abuse in the society, and but people. It is very few and less people who dare to articulate, and this is one such platform I happen to feel when I have seen the previous speakers talks on this prevention talks YouTube channel. So I would like to tell before what is that credibility that I take to speak on this important platform where many of them eminent speakers from different fields of expertise have already come and shared their interventions, action plans, and other prevention measures, and their lot of their stories, cases, and case studies. So, what is my credibility to speak on this platform and on this particular topic? Well, I would like to answer your three W's: who am I, what am I, and why am I? As I've rightly, the organizer, thanks, Sonu, that you have introduced me so wonderfully. But I don't think that alone would keep my credibility alive. But let me, as organizers have rightly said, that I've been an educator in the field of teaching English language, especially language, for the past 2 decades. Apart from that, I've been a mentor, counselor, trainer, and a specially certified trainer on gender sensitization. Well, what makes all this to speak here? As a teacher for graduates and postgraduate students, I happen to deal with adolescent children who are the aftermath effects of this child abuse. And as a trainer, counselor, and mentor, many a times there were instances and cases where we need to deal with the children, especially the adolescent group, who have this, deep scars because of the child abuse that they have experienced in their earlier ages of life. And trust me, the kind of deep inflict that they keep on for their future life is something very trembling. And though we have our own ways of intervention and prevention measures, sometimes we deal with just counseling, sometimes we have to work with medical care, and there were lots of other cases where they need lot of support, care, and love to push them forward and make them to forget, which is really not easy task. Making a child to forget and forgive those abuse is really a Herculean thing for them to take care. So, with this kind of experience, why am I? It's just not because as a professional I'm here to share. Because when I happen to listen to the title that it is to clean or to clear the child abuse completely from the society, yes, that sounds better. But when we talk about society, are we all alone can do it? Yes, we cannot. But at the same time, what is society made of? Society is made of families, isn't it? Families constitute a society, and when we can understand that, if we work at individual root level, if we can uproot that social evil, when you have to clear it from the society, work from the ground, and when we can uproot this kind of social evil practice or causes at a family level, probably that can be an effective step towards clearing this child abuse from the society eventually in future. So today I'm here just not as a professional and not just as a woman, but primarily as a parent, as a mother. I would like to come with the common man's perspective. What is a single person in the society who can be a part of a family, can play his or her role in clearing this child abuse from the society? Well, I just said that if I've happened to listen to a few earlier speakers, I'm sure all of them have, they have just started with elaborated this topic. What is child abuse? What kinds of abuses, and across the world, how they are taking up the intervention steps, and what are the prevention measures? What are the action plans? Well, agreed. Nevertheless, any of us who come onto the platform should start with this basic beginning. But I would try to make it as a nutshell, and then let me talk the DNA of child abuse. I would rather be to make the audience aware the definition what child abuse is actually of, what are the numerous kinds of abuse, and then the need for the acknowledgement. So the moment we say child abuse, let me tell you, I don't know it is, I don't say it is fortunate thing to speak about still existing child abuse and eradicating it, but still I feel that this today is not, it can be no more a good day than this, June 12th, which is observed to be the World's Day Against Child Labor. So I happen that it is destined for me to speak on this day, on this cause. That shows that we are all working for a true cause. And when I was talking about definition, I happen to interact with people, and I'm surprised, and sometimes I'm convinced that most of us really end up, when we say child abuse, it is just registered as either physical or sexual abuse. But according to the standard definition of World Health Organization, I would like to state the fact that it is all forms of physical, emotional ill treatment, sexual abuse, neglect, or the negligent treatment, or commercial or other exploitation, other forms of exploitation, which results in either the present or the future harm to the child's health, survival, development, or the dignity. See, if we can, if we can really look at all these phrases and the words in the definition, I'm sure the whole lot of vocabulary will make us understand and establish evidence that child abuse exists on spectrum. It is everywhere and anywhere in the society. And when you say society, let us all remember that it includes the family. And now let us know, when we say that according to different kinds of specialists and the other professionals, there are numerous kinds of abuses that can be categorized and subcategorized. But as I told you, I'm speaking from a person in a family's perspective. What is the need for them? What is the kind of education and knowledge one has to understand about the child abuse that exists very much in their own household? So it is physical, emotional, sexual, racial, gender, and economical. And there can be many more to state. Well, all of these are either more or less, they're all interconnected, except, you may not find sexual and racial to happen, as a part of it. But nevertheless, all of them were, if there is a sexual abuse, trust me, then the child must have undergone the physical abuse, emotional abuse, gender abuse, and it can all happen because of the economical conditions. So nothing is like individual and independent entity. All of these are interconnected, and they can be furthermore, right? And then what is the need? If we have agreed to this, when I said that we have to work on eradicating it at society level, we need to work at family level. And most of the times we all know that, but trust me, it would be quite disheartening to know the statistical figures. How much, in spite of knowing so much of, awareness, campaigns, activities like these still exist in the society, the percentage of child abuse when compared, or when it is compared on the sheet at a domestic level, it happens more to the child from his closest circle. But we end up, so-called educated parents or caretakers or teachers, we end up telling them, be careful with strangers. But how to take care? Is it the only, it is like, something like, we say about the women discrimination, it is not, it's just not enough to a girl to be, to make her strong and, dependable enough. It is also equally important for a boy to know how to treat and respect a girl. So it works on both ends. Similarly, it is just not the child to be educated, how to be careful, how to speak up, how to know, how to identify, how to articulate. It's just not, because it is both the abuser and abuser stakeholders for this cause. So we are working only on the children's perspective. No, that won't be enough. So we should also first start to agree the fact, agree and acknowledge the fact that it does exist at houses, your homes. It can be at schools, it can be at your playstations, it can be at entertainment zones where you find, children more loitering around, the places where you find children more loitering around. And the abuse can happen just not by strangers. We all have to agree. It is hard reality, yes, but still we need to digest it. It can be right from your either of the parents or both. It can be your teachers, caretakers, friends, colleagues, neighborhoods, like schoolmates, classmates, anybody and everybody. We only have to first, when we are ready to agree, get convinced that abuse doesn't happen somewhere in the space. It happens right in front of you, amidst us. And we can also, knowingly or unknowingly, see, the pathetic part is, most of the cases, the victim is aware that he has been abused, but the abuser is not really ready to accept, or he doesn't even know for his lifetime when it happens at, at family level. You don't know that as a parent. You just think that you're taking care of the child, but no, you are giving him so much of pain. He's carrying up so much of mental trauma. We end up our lives without knowing that what is that we have given to our child, and we leave this world. Are we okay with it? Let all of us have to think this. And as a person in the society, in the family, one has to take up the responsibility to see that if you can. The point is, I know, I agree that child abuse happens in the society, mainly to the street children, to the orphans, semi-orphans, people at poor class. Agreed. They have a reason. We say there are some socio-economical conditions, because they have nobody to take care. But what is the plight of a boy who has got good parents for the world and society? He still has to undergo this. He has to still digest this. Can't we at least work at this level? Maybe. If we can work at this level to the largest section, I'm sure the rest can happen and take care further. And as I said, that if you're ready, and if we can create that kind of acknowledgement, uh, necessity, the need of acknowledgement to these sections, probably we can work on the effective measures. And I truly agree that there is lot that is happening against this child abuse eradication. There are a lot of laws, regulatory bodies, and then you have NGOs like, like these McMarvin. There are many social enterprises which are working towards this responsibility, social responsibility, many social evils. But then, as I said, at family level, as a person in the family who is going to live by your child, what is that you can do? Because the mission is already on process. There are people across the world who have identified, who are working on this social cause. But what at family level we can do to save child? I would like to discuss very briefly that what are the best things at family level as a parent or a mother or a teacher one can extend to see that we are conscious enough and keep our antennas up and see that we can only nurture the child rather than put them into a hard taskbar of discipline. So the first thing to save child, I would say, uh, support children. When I said support children, let us understand in eradication process, we have two things. One is intervention and one is prevention. We also, to eradicate is just not to stop happening child abuse. It is also equally important for us to help heal these victims and the survivors of child abuse. As I told you, as a professional, as a teacher and a mentor and a counselor at various levels, people open up when you really give them the trust. And if you can support those children to heal them by themselves, you don't work on them. And support children is one thing that I ask every parent has to identify in and around their neighborhood. You find lots of, see, it is not that, as I told you, we are not working on roads, we are not working on orphanages, we are not working on some child care organizations. We are talking about the people who are uh, people and families who are just beside you, who are living by in and around you. So if you can identify, if you can support them, give that kind of encouragement or embracement where they can feel confident, they feel that yes, things, time can heal everything and anything. If you can give that kind of point by making your child, your family to be accepting the child, bringing him in into the group, and nurturing them. I tell you the instance why I have to keep this support children. uh, when I was way back when I was young, very young in my profession, I happened to meet, I started my, as a teacher or a, what I say, as a professor, assistant professor of English for a technical institution. So, I mean, I used to deal with students of 18 and 19 years old, where I was only hardly 24 and 25. So it was, age gap was very less and we were more like friends and all. And in the very beginning, maybe it was third or fourth year of my profession, I happened to meet uh, a boy who has lost his father in his early age, maybe when he was 5 or 6, and he has his only mother. And he was just finding, he was extremely brilliant in his studies, but he always found you know he always found that he has lost, and he used to muster courage when he has to address the gathering. We usually, as language teachers, we think up and end up that this is because people are with less self confidence, or they are fear of speaking in English and blah blah blah. Usually we end up thinking like that. And because of the kind of association and communication that we build up as a language and communication skills trainer, this boy has opened up and has shared one traumatic story where he was told that he was tortured by his uncle for his eloquent speech in front of his relatives, and he has made his tongue, he burnt his tongue. And then from then onwards, it was around, maybe it was in 5th class or 6th class. He said that whenever he opens to speak in, he gets reminded of this that episode. And I said, did your mother know about it? No, she knows it, but she doesn't know that it has this effect. She just felt that, because usually child is very excited and children are proactive. They don't fear, so they speak up. So only because of that, he has been punished. The kind of impact he has carried, it was at MBA. Imagine it is 5th class and MBA. Look at the amount of scar. It seems to be very small to to parent or to the people who are taking care. But the kind of scar deep inflected in this guy's mind, and it took a lot of time for us to make him confident and to make him to realize what all his assets are and how good he can speak. And if he speaks in front of, we need to really work on him. That's again a different story how he is successful. So what I believe is supporting children is not just supporting your own child in stopping and not creating. You should be very clear even to help the people who are victims, I mean the children who are victims and also survivors, because that means a lot to them. They otherwise they end up again either being abusers or they lose their purpose in their life. They become losers or they end up or they just become mediocre in the society. So to stop making them like that, maybe we need to support all these children, and our action would make our child, realize what it is to be with, how to treat a child or a person. He'll also learn from us. And then, as I said in the earlier slide, there is a very intense need of making parents and other people in the family and society to be aware. Abuse is not just, physical injury is not something which ends up in fracturing or, coming with a deep injury. Even I tell you, a growing up boy of 8 years and 12 years, if he has been constantly taunted in front of the other family members, it has its impact. You tease him, you say that teasing and all happens outside. No, most of the times it happens even in the families. Even that can create and comparisons. So if people are made aware, especially parents, and today this generation, it is not children, but the parents are very competitive in spirit. I appreciate, but not at the cost of their children's future. It is not the future that they're creating, it's actually they're wrapping up their minds. So if you can work on it and make people understand and educate what it is to nurture, the difference between nurturing and abusing. People feel that no, they are constantly taking care of. No, it's not the fact. You should ask the child. See, you treat the child from the child's perspective. You don't treat from your perspective, because child hasn't been to that level where he understands that when you say something is not, it is the intention that he has to read. No, it will not happen. A child's level of anatomy, I mean cognitive ability is different from an adult's cognitive ability. You cannot expect child to act and behave like an adult. So we need to be very clear. This kind of awareness, this kind of parenting, as I said in the later points, is very essential. And then, for we, it is volunteer your time. The moment I say volunteer time, people end up, no, we are giving a quality time. What is volunteering our time? It is just giving a quality time. What does it mean? You end up talking to him or taking a child for the trips or getting him the things that he wished to have, or making fun and all is good. But what volunteer time really means is you need to be together with him in his uh, in his routine activity, which is actually not routine in sense. It can be like, both of you together on a weekend can plan for a meal, a small supper, or prepare together, help him, or dance for a music, and then you both can sit and watch his comic movie, what he likes, and then probably share. Bring down your cognitive abilities, bring down your intellectual levels, and speak to him from his mind. Then that is what is volunteer your time. Doesn't mean just go to a pizza corner and then go for a trip, and then no, that is not going to help your child. In fact, it sometimes may spoil if you do just end up doing that only thing. Probably your child ends up with different kinds of expectations. Again, when you volunteer your time, you can also take your child and go for some kind of social activity. Social activities need not to be a greatest of activities in service. It can be simple thing like, maybe to your maid's son, you can ask him to share a book, a slate or a pen, or ask both of them to sit and read or play, anything that makes him, that makes him understand that no person and no child of any kind of level and background is to be ill treated. We have to take such kind of care when you're volunteering your time. And then in all this process, you have to examine your behavior. You cannot see, I tell you, we all agree to a point that child, or for that matter, any human being, any student or any learner would emulate what you do rather than what you say. So you articulate things saying that I'm helping, you're doing. No, it doesn't work. We have to examine and check ourselves. Probably it is like, it is just not punishment, but it is space. You need to give that time. You need to give yourself kind of some check on your behavior whenever you feel like you're going wrong. That makes him understand how to control his behavior. You need to make him educate that, because child, as in the process of growing and in the process of development and growing, there are a lot of behavioral issues that he can come across, and that should not happen because of the influence, because of the influence of the either of the parents or any of the family members' behavioral or attitudinal aspects, like being a parent, a drinker, or a mother being an emotional introvert, or grandparents being very, very nagging. It sounds very odd to see on this platform, but trust me, for a child, if you go on pecking him up on one single task for multiple times, it has its own effect in their work culture. He gets used to neglect and ignore things. So you need to examine your behavior. This is very important. You just say it once and leave it. Let him not do it. No issues. But let him understand after a while that since you haven't done this, this couldn't happen, and so you won't get it. It is just because you haven't paid attention. But instead, you go on nagging and he still doesn't do, and still you say and you give it, it will not work out. So this all will help you in clearing that misunderstanding of your intention and the child's growth. And when it comes for the child, we, as I said, all this though takes up the care for the child. Careful monitoring is for this present generation kids. When I say here careful monitoring, I'm talking about the digital and screen monitoring of the children. I'm sure all of us agree to the fact that because of this pandemic times, it's been more for the children who are just stuck to the screens. Either it is home theater, television sets, or then gadgets, smartphones, laptops, iPads, anything. We need to be very careful on what they are watching, when they are watching, and how they are watching. See, people end up watching a lot of comic movies that has got their own adverse effects. I tell you, the constant watching of cartoon movies, which actually for a kind of effect of fun, they create a lot of speed movements, quick movements, random acts of the cartoon figures that actually affects their brain. For over a period, constant watching will make them uh, their inability to concentrate on a particular topic. They lose that concentration and focus drastically when compared to a normal child. And then they end up with very, very impatience, because they have been always, to just keep them away in silence, give them a gadget. This is one important thing. I know many of the parents, they say yes, but you see 10 out of 10, 9 households and parents end up giving and handing over these electronic gadgets to the kids, and they proudly say it. We have been listening to all this back, but my point is understand the effect of it. True. People say that you don't watch because it affects your eyes and everything is fine. But then, what is the scientific thing that happens? What is it? What are the effects that happen at psychological and cognitive level? Their mental processing. It has got its own effects. So you need and watching violence pictures like Hulk, lot of Avengers. You have a lot of things where people end up with watching action, so this all will have their attitudinal and behavioral issues. So we need to watch them closely. You just can't hand it over and then leave and disappear. You need to be constantly by their side and tell them what is that they're watching, how are they watching and when are they watching, how much time they are taking, what is that they are watching, and during which time. Is it at bedtime? Is it during their lunchtime, during their meals? Whenever they have to take food, they are just in front of the screens, and that is really scientifically not a healthy habit. So this all has got, it's a kind of abuse that you're doing, though it doesn't look like abuse, but you are hampering the child's normal growth. Anything even which doesn't hit you physically or evidently, even then that is an abuse for a child, because we are hampering their natural child's growth. And to avoid all this, we as a senior parent or a parent with two kids and all, because we find the younger generation, there are two extreme categories. You find completely obsessive and over cared parents, and there is another set who are deeply engrossed in their professional lives and they hardly monitor. The kid is either in the hands of the caretakers, or in the hands of the grandparents, or to the god. I mean, it is to gadgets. So we need to make people clear that if they are ready to take the responsibility, let them hold it. Most of the Indian context, if I have to talk, most of the times, I tell you, this is another major issue which doesn't look like directly related to this child abuse, but trust me, it also has got its own effect. Most of the parents end up, children, when they get married, they end up asking and pressurizing them for extending the family or beginning a family. But if until unless they are not ready, they are not aware of the responsibilities, you have no right to bring a child into this world and make him suffer. If you can't invest your time, if you can't invest your love, if you can't invest your attention, no, you better delay it or defer it or just avoid it from your life. You have no right to bring in a man onto the world and then leave him to the air. And then the other important thing is integrate with the child. When I say integrating with the child, it is what I'm talking about, the trust factor. And I tell you, this is one magical pill which works wonders. If you can bring that trust in the child, I'm sure they really don't matter what are you for them, who are you, and where are you from. They just would like to come and share, and they would just reach you in their times of needs, in their times of discomfort, in their times of having security. They just reach you, and that's one good thing where you can avoid children from getting into the shackles of abuse. Many a times, outside or inside, you should be in a position. See, the nurturing of a child should be in that way. Create a trust on child. Uh, Bring up that relationship of trust between you and your child, that even if he has a complaint against you, you should be in a position to express it. Can we really work on it? Yes, we can. He should be in a position, he or the girl should be in a position to say that, Mom, what made you to shout at me today? I really don't like it. Oh, you should have told me simply. That can be the kind of words. You should make them help him. When you create the trust, make him learn to learn the words that express his emotions and that express his conditions. That can happen only, the child learns when you create trust in him. He won't learn from everybody and anybody. He will be closely following, emulating, as I said, only from the people whom he loves. He creates that trust. Yes, he or she is one with whom I'm closely associated and closely bonded with. Can we really think on these levels and these? We run in this mundane world. We say that we end up uh, with lot of other important tasks in this world in our lives, where we hardly work on these issues, on these practices, especially in households. Nobody said no, we do it. But when you check on yourself, I'm sure most of the things we need to work on, we need to better ourselves. And the other important thing is just either for intervention or prevention, that whatever we are talking, the only thing either to heal, cure, or avoid, you first avoid child abuse. You first need to give him love. And as in Gita, it says, if your intention, any action is not right or wrong, it is the intention of the act which makes it right or wrong. I mean it. When I say love, people end up giving a lot of, they pamper children. As I said, again, there are two kinds of parents you happen to see in the society or in your family holds, where either they are very strict and disciplined parents, and the other people are completely, no extremes are really helpful or going to help your child for his healthy growth, for his holistic growth. But when I say love, if that intention of love is pure in making, in helping and nurturing the growth of the child, I'm sure the act of love will have its return in multiple ways, multiple folds. He becomes a very kind human being. He becomes a caring and understanding human being, and he or she can understand what a pain is and how hard it is for a person to digest and overcome. When you start giving him love, you need to make, don't, we have no right for children to be deprived of love. That is their basic right. Every child needs love, care, and attention. If you are not in a position to give these three, let us not talk about a child in the house. And having said all these things, people may question us. So where does discipline stand in amidst this? Well, discipline is always required, but we need to discipline a child very thoughtfully. The moment I said uh, thoughtfully, it means probably we end up, if we can check again, if we can reflect, if we can have that introspection, most of the times we end up disciplining our child in our bad moods. No, we come home with lots of bad mood at office. We carry it from our workplace, and then we happen to see a boy, that small boy in the house. The moment you open the door and he comes out and makes a shout, he jumps and he's excited to see you, and you get really irritated. You just speak harsh. You put him onto the task. You ask him to go there. You give all kind of disciplinary things at that moment, but the child is clueless. He doesn't understand what is going behind all this. So always discipline them. Give the understand, child is not dumb. Child can think, child can feel, and child can understand and then process. So have that channel open. If you want to discipline him, tell him. If you love him, let him feel that. And if you build up the trust, let him also respond to it. So if you can make all these things work at your family level, I'm sure the child abuse, at least the major chunk which happens in the households, can be really be lessened. It can really come down, because uh, I often get weird kind of thoughts. People, we all work, I mean, any NGOs or any kind of laws and regulatory bodies could act on the platforms where they can really, perform. But who are the stakeholders and who are the channelers who has to perform at family level, at individual level? It is the family, it is the people in the family, parents, siblings, teachers also play a greater role. friends also play a great role. So all of us, if we are, all of us are aware of it. All of us are aware to that small fact that any small thing that can affect child, in a very un what should I say? If it can leave him his, if it makes him to leave his natural kind of character, then probably we are only doing harm to that boy. So keeping all this in, if we make this mission on process to continue, I'm sure in the coming near future we can really work on eradicating and uprooting this social cause of child abuse completely from the society, because all of us believe that to stop abuse and start embracing and saving children is like saving a generation. And I think this is what, as a person from the family in the society, would like to share. Maybe these are the things that we as members of the family should work on, and then closely see to it that we become an effective role. We become a part of an effective role and mission to clear off this child abuse from the society. And thank you so much for giving me this wonderful opportunity, Sonu and Zakir. I'm sure I haven't taken much of your time.